One busy afternoon, billionaire entrepreneur Elon Musk pulled into a McDonald's drive-thru, expecting nothing more than a quick meal between meetings. What he didn't expect was to recognize the tired face at the window, Darren Reyes once, one of Tesla's most brilliant battery engineers. How did such a gifted innovator end up working in fast food? And what would Elon do when he uncovered the heartbreaking truth behind Darren's fall from grace? In a world that often discards talent at the first sign of trouble, sometimes it takes just one person willing to look deeper, to see the potential that others overlook. This isn't just a story of second chances. It's a powerful reminder that innovation can come from the most unexpected places and people. A fateful drive-thru, Elon Musk drummed his fingers on the steering wheel, his stomach growling as traffic crawled forward. 3 meetings down, 2 more to go. The glowing McDonald's sign ahead seemed like an invitation. Why not? He muttered, realizing he hadn't had fast food in months. Pulling into the drive-thru lane, he ignored the constant buzzing of messages from the Tesla factory. Just 5 minutes for a burger and fries, that's all he needed. When he reached the ordering screen, it flickered and went black. "Sorry about that," came a voice from the speaker. "Our system keeps crashing today. Give me 1 second." Elon waited, checking his watch. The screen flickered back to life within 30 seconds. That was fast, he remarked, mildly impressed. "Just a quick reboot and code patch," the voice replied. Elon's curiosity piqued. That wasn't typical fast food worker talk. He placed his order and drove forward. A familiar face at the payment window, a young man with dark circles under his eyes, greeted him. His name tag read Darren. Though he wore a tired smile, it didn't reach his eyes. "That'll be $8.79, Darren said, holding out the card reader. As Elon handed over his credit card, something caught his eye, a small notebook sticking out of Darren's pocket. Complex technical drawings peeked out from the edges. Battery schematics, the card machine beeped, and then went dark. Not again, Darren sighed. But instead of calling for help, he flipped the machine over and swiftly opened a panel, resetting something inside with practiced precision. And that's when it clicked. "Darren Reyes?" Elon asked, stunned. Darren's head snapped up. Recognition flashed in his eyes, followed immediately by shame. He quickly looked down. "Your order will be ready at the next window, sir," Darren said stiffly. "You worked on the Model S battery cooling system," Elon pressed. "One of our best engineers. What are you doing here?" At that moment, Darren's supervisor passed by. Darren flinched. "I need to keep this line moving, Mr. Musk. Please proceed to the next window," he said, his voice tight. Unraveling the truth, Elon drove forward, his mind racing. Darren Reyes had been a rising star at Tesla just 6 months ago. His innovations had helped solve critical battery overheating issues, and now he was fixing broken card readers at McDonald's. Something was very wrong. Instead of leaving, Elon pulled into a parking spot. Taking out his phone, he searched through old Tesla emails. Within moments, he found what he was looking for. Personnel. Notice. Darren Reyes. Employment terminated. No explanation given. Elon frowned. He didn't personally oversee every firing, but for an engineer of Darren's caliber, he should have been informed. He quickly texted his assistant, "Need info on why Darren Reyes left Tesla 6 months ago. Urgent." Through the window, he watched Darren working. Even from a distance, it was clear. He was exhausted. But there was also precision in his movements, a quiet brilliance in the way he handled every problem. When the register froze again, Darren didn't hesitate. He fixed it. Elon knew one thing for certain. This man didn't belong here, and he was about to find out why. In seconds, Darren had fixed the machine. No manager, no delay. Elon watched, fascinated. 40 minutes later, he was still sitting in his car. He had canceled his next meetings. Some things were more important. He watched as Darren removed his McDonald's hat and trudged toward the bus stop, shoulders slumped. Elon got out of his car. "Darren?" he called. Darren froze, then slowly turned. Up close, he looked even more exhausted. Mr. Musk, he said quietly. I'm sorry about earlier, I can't lose this job. What happened? Elon asked. You were doing brilliant work at Tesla. Darren looked down at his worn-out shoes. Life happened. I'm sure the report explains it all. I want to hear it from you, Elon said. Do you have a few minutes to talk? Darren checked his watch, conflict evident on his face. I have to catch the 5:15 bus. My neighbor can only watch Maya until 6. Maya? A brief flash of warmth broke through Darren's exhaustion. My daughter, she's 7. I'll drive you home, Elon offered, and I'd really like to understand what happened. Darren hesitated, glancing at the approaching bus, then back at Elon. Why do you care? Tesla has thousands of employees. Because I just watched one of the brightest engineering minds I've ever met fix a card reader at McDonald's, Elon said. And you had battery schematics in your pocket, didn't you? Darren's hand instinctively went to the small notebook in his pocket. Just ideas, he mumbled. Old habits. The bus pulled up. Darren watched it, torn. 20 minutes, Elon said. That's all I'm asking. The bus pulled away. Darren exhaled heavily but nodded. There's a coffee shop next. Door, he said. But I can't be late getting home to Maya. As they walked, Elon noticed Darren's uniform. Despite a long shift, it was impeccably clean. The man still had his pride. The truth comes out. The coffee shop was nearly empty. They sat in a quiet corner, Darren perching uneasily on the edge of his seat. So, Elon said, how does a senior Tesla engineer end up working a drive-thru? Darren stared into his coffee. It's a long story. I've got time. Darren's voice cracked slightly. Maya doesn't, he sighed, rubbing his temples. Look, Mr. Musk, I appreciate your curiosity, but it doesn't change anything. I made a mistake at Tesla, I paid for it. Now I'm just trying to keep my head above water. What mistake? Elon asked. Your work was exceptional. Darren's eyes flashed, a rare spark of anger breaking through. That's not what my termination letter said. Elon's phone buzzed. A message from his assistant, Reyes termination. Submitted false data on battery test report. Approved by Victor Chambers. Elon frowned. He knew Victor Chambers, competent, but deeply insecure. Did you falsify test data? He asked bluntly. Darren's head snapped up. No, I would never. He stopped, taking a deep breath. It doesn't matter now. It matters to me. Darren checked his watch. I need to go. As he stood, his small notebook slipped from his pocket, landing open on the floor. Pages of detailed technical drawings sprawled across the tile. Elon bent down and picked it up, unable to resist glancing at the designs. What he saw made his breath catch. Brilliant innovations on Tesla's existing battery systems. New cooling modifications Elon had never even considered. You've been working on these while at McDonald's? Elon asked, astonished. Darren quickly snatched the notebook back, his face flushing. Just to keep my mind sharp, he muttered. Old habits. Elon made a decision. Let me drive you home, Darren. On the way, tell me about these designs. He met Darren's wary gaze. And about what really happened at Tesla. Darren studied him for a long moment, weighing his options. Maya needs dinner soon, he said finally. We'll pick something up, Elon promised. For the first time, a faint smile flickered across Darren's face. Okay, he said. But I warn you, it's not a happy story. As they walked to the car, Elon felt a strange certainty. This unexpected detour was more important than any meeting he had canceled today. Sometimes, the most significant discoveries happened when you least expected them. The drive was quiet, at first. Elon's sleek car felt out of place in Darren's neighborhood, rows of small apartment buildings, many with peeling paint. Children played on a rusty playground nearby, their laughter mingling with the sounds of the city. Third building on the right, Darren directed, pointing to a faded blue complex. Elon parked. Darren hesitated, fidgeting with his McDonald's name tag before finally unpinning it and slipping it into his pocket. We picked up chicken nuggets for Maya, Darren said. But I should warn you, my place isn't much. The apartment was on the second floor. Before Darren could unlock the door, it swung open. An older woman with gray hair stood in the doorway, her expression worried. "You're late, Darren. Maya's been asking." She stopped when she noticed Elon. "Sorry, Mrs. Guzman, this is a former colleague. He gave me a ride home." Darren pulled a crumpled $5 bill from his pocket and handed it to her. "Thanks for watching, Maya." Mrs. Guzman hesitated. She was tired after her treatment, but she perked up around 4. She's been coloring. She took the money reluctantly. "You know I don't need this." "Please," Darren insisted. "You're already doing too much." After she left, Darren led Elon into a small living room. A tiny table was covered in crayons and scattered sheets of paper. A girl's voice called from the next room. "Daddy, is that you?" "Yes, sweetie, and I brought dinner." Darren's entire demeanor shifted. His voice lightened. His exhaustion momentarily replaced with warmth. "Come say hello, we have a visitor." A thin girl with dark hair peeked around the corner. She wore rocket ship pajamas and a colorful scarf was wrapped around her head. Her face lit up when she saw her father, but her gaze turned shy when she noticed Elon. Darren smiled. "Maya, this is Mr. Musk. He knew me from my old job." Maya's eyes widened. "The space rocket man?" She turned to Darren. "Daddy, you have his picture in your folder." Darren's face reddened slightly. "Maya." Elon knelt to her level, smiling. "It's very nice to meet you, Maya. I brought chicken nuggets. I hope that's okay." "Dinosaur ones?" she asked hopefully. "The very best kind," Elon confirmed, holding up the bag. A hard truth. During dinner at the small kitchen table, Maya chattered about her day, how she had gone to the hospital for medicine. "That makes me tired," but had worked on a special drawing afterward. Elon noticed Darren watching his daughter with a mixture of love and worry. After Maya had eaten, Darren gently said, "Sweetie, why don't you watch your show while I talk with Mr. Musk?" Once, she was settled in front of the TV. Darren sank onto the couch. At home, he somehow looked even more exhausted than he had at work. He exhaled deeply. "6 months ago," he began, "Maya was diagnosed with a rare type of leukemia." Elon's expression softened. "I'm sorry." Darren nodded, rubbing his temples. "The doctors are hopeful, but the treatment is expensive, even with insurance." He let out a slow breath. "At the same time, I was working on the new cooling system for the Model S batteries. The project was behind schedule. Everyone was stressed." Darren stared at his hands. "My supervisor, Victor Chambers, was pressuring the team for results. The preliminary tests weren't meeting expectations. He called me into his office one Friday and told me to fix the numbers for the Monday meeting with senior management." Elon's expression darkened. "Did you?" "No." Darren's voice was firm. "I told him I needed the weekend to run more tests. I worked all weekend. Barely slept." He hesitated. My ex-wife, was furious. She was already struggling with Maya's diagnosis. He stood up, walked to a drawer, and pulled out a worn folder. Taking out a creased sheet of paper, he handed it to Elon. "This is my original report." Darren's voice was quiet. "I found a real solution that weekend. The tests were promising." Elon scanned the document. The data looked solid. "But that's not what was presented on Monday," Darren continued. "I emailed this report to Victor Sunday night. When I arrived at work Monday morning, I was called to HR. He let out a bitter laugh. They showed me a different version of my report, one with obviously manipulated data. Victor claimed, "I sent it." Elon frowned. "And no one checked your email records?" Darren's jaw clenched. "Victor told them I had privately confessed to falsifying the data. He said I was distracted by my daughter's illness." He shook his head. "Given my emotional state, they believed him." His voice dropped. "I was fired on the spot. No severance, no health insurance for Maya's treatments." Elon's jaw tightened. "Why didn't you fight it Contact someone higher up? Darren gestured around the small apartment. Maya needed me. Her treatments couldn't wait. His voice was quiet, resigned. And my wife. She was already talking about... She left, Darren said, his voice quiet. She couldn't handle the stress of a sick child. 2 weeks after I was fired, she was gone. He swallowed hard. I didn't have time to fight a giant company. I needed a job, any job, immediately. McDonald's was hiring. The manager took pity on me and gave me flexible hours around Maya's treatments. In the other room, Maya coughed. Darren immediately stood up. I should check on her. He returned a moment later, looking even more exhausted. She gets tired easily. Elon hesitated, then asked gently, And your wife? Darren's expression was carefully neutral. Moved to Phoenix with her sister. She calls Maya sometimes. He exhaled. It's just us now. Elon glanced around the apartment. It was small but meticulously clean. A calendar on the wall was covered with medical appointments. A basket of medication sat on the counter, then his eyes fell on something else. The notebook, he said. Darren followed his gaze and shrugged. It keeps me sane. When Maya's asleep or at treatment, I work on ideas. Just theoretical stuff. Now, but... He trailed off. But you miss the real work, Elon finished. Darren shook his head. I miss making things that matter. Then he added more softly. But Maya matters more. And right now, McDonald's pays our rent. A small figure appeared in the doorway. Maya, looking sleepy, rubbed her eyes. Daddy, I'm tired. Of course, sweetheart. Darren stood, giving Elon an apologetic glance. It's past her bedtime. Elon rose as well. I should go. He hesitated. Thank you for sharing your story. Darren sighed. Not sure why you wanted to hear it. It doesn't change anything. Elon watched as Darren lifted Maya, her small arms wrapping around his neck. The contrast between the defeated man in the McDonald's uniform and the devoted father holding his daughter was striking. Good night, Mr. Space Rocket Man, Maya called over her father's shoulder. Elon smiled. Good night, Maya. As Darren carried his daughter to bed, Elon noticed a drawing on the table. A childlike sketch of a car with a smiling sun above it. In wobbly handwriting it read, Daddy's car that doesn't need gas. Elon carefully folded Darren's original report and slipped it into his pocket. Outside, as he sat in his luxury car, the world felt different. He pulled out his phone. Cancel. My meeting's tomorrow, he told his assistant. And find out everything you can about Victor Chambers, everything. An offer. The next evening, Elon's car pulled up outside the McDonald's just as Darren's shift was ending. Darren stepped outside, pausing when he saw the familiar vehicle. Mr. Musk? He approached cautiously. What are you doing here? Elon leaned against his car. I thought we could talk more. Is Maya with her neighbor again? Darren nodded. Mrs. Guzman picks her up from her afternoon treatment on Tuesdays. I have until 8 tonight. Perfect. Elon gestured to the passenger seat. Join me for dinner. Not here, he added with a small smile. Somewhere quieter. 20 minutes later, they sat in a corner booth at a small diner. Darren looked uncomfortable, in his McDonald's uniform, sitting across from Elon's expensive suit. I could have changed first, Darren muttered, tugging at his collar. Elon pushed a menu toward him. Food was more important. Order whatever you want. After they ordered, silence stretched between them. Finally, Darren broke it. Why are you doing this, Mr. Musk? I appreciate the dinner, but... Call me Elon, he interrupted. And I'm doing this because I've been looking into your situation. Darren tensed. I'm not looking for charity. Good, because that's not what I'm offering. Elon leaned forward. I reviewed your original report, the one you gave me, yesterday. It's excellent work. Darren sighed. It doesn't matter now. Elon's gaze was steady. It matters to me. His voice was firm. Tesla lost a brilliant engineer because of what happened. and I don't intend to let that mistake stand. For the next hour, Elon sat with HR and legal, outlining the situation. The evidence was clear. Darren had been framed. Undoing that damage, however, would be complicated. We can reinstate him, the HR director said, adjusting his glasses. But clearing his record and compensating for lost wages might set a precedent. Elon leaned back. The precedent we should set is that Tesla doesn't punish innovation. We correct mistakes. Legal hesitated. Victor Chambers is still with the company. If we act against him, there could be backlash. Elon's voice was firm. I'm not worried about Chambers. I'm worried about fixing this. He glanced at Darren's notebook still on his desk. Draft a reinstatement offer, full back pay, and make sure he reports directly to Lin Chen. I want him working on the cooling system immediately. The HR director nodded. And if he refuses? Elon considered that. Then we find another way to help him, but I have a feeling he won't. A life rebuilt that evening, Darren was in the tiny apartment kitchen when his phone buzzed. Unknown number. Hello? Darren? It's Elon. He frowned, wiping his hands on a dish towel. Mr. Musk? I have an offer for you. Darren's stomach tightened. I told you I can't. You can, Elon interrupted. Tesla is offering to reinstate you. Full salary, full benefits. You'll report directly to Lin Chen. No Victor Chambers. No barriers, just your work. Darren's grip on the phone tightened. I don't know if I can go back. You don't have to decide now, Elon said. But if you want to build something that matters again, the door is open. Silence stretched between them. Then Darren glanced at Maya, asleep on the couch, curled up next to her favorite stuffed rabbit. Will it cover health insurance? He asked quietly. Elon smiled. Top tier. No out-of-pocket costs for Maya's treatments. Darren closed his eyes, exhaling. When do I start? A month later, Darren walked into Tesla's research facility. Not as a visitor, not as an outsider, but as an engineer again. His hands skimmed over the cool metal of a prototype battery. Ready to make something that matters? Lin asked beside him. Darren nodded. Yeah, I am. Far away in his office, Elon glanced at a new report on his desk. The first draft of the updated battery cooling system. At the bottom, in Darren's handwriting, was a note. For Maya, for the future. Elon smiled. Some people saw failure as an end. He saw it as the beginning of something greater. And this? This was just the start.